It's one of the harsh realities of life that no matter what bar you walk into, you're bound to bump into a couple of yahoos. It's not often, however, that they actually make a living at it. But here in San Jose, in the heart of Silicon Valley in California, David Philo and Jerry Yang revel in being known as professional yahoos. In fact, they've raised $1 million to continue being yahoos. This wasn't exactly what their parents had planned. Roundabout now, David, from Moss Bluff, Louisiana, and Jerry, raised in San Jose, California, should have been graduating with doctorates in electrical engineering from Stanford. But that all changed when they decided instead to become full-time yahoos. Such is life on the internet.
In a network of computers, it's not the MIPS and chips and whatnot that's most important. It's what goes on between the people using them that makes them really powerful. A reminder from Sun Microsystems, proud to support this PBS program.
I'm Scott Simon. Here on the campus of Stanford University, two graduate students created one of the internet's earliest success stories. Every day, more and more aspiring entrepreneurs are hanging out a shingle in cyberspace, or panning for gold in them our hills of information. The amount of online sales has reached the point where it's attracting the eyes of advertisers and others with internal drive, seeking a new financial life on the internet. This is a story about innovation and about making money, and it starts here at the campus of Stanford University in California. Like a lot of other graduate students, David Philo and Jerry Yang were both right on target for careers in electrical engineering. They both earned their master's degrees here, and they were working together on getting their PhDs. Interesting careers in industry or education were just around the corner. But David and Jerry had a problem. They were among the first generation of students who could access the internet, and they were finding themselves overwhelmed by the morass of information which was suddenly available. They found themselves spending more and more time simply looking for more and more stuff. So in April of 1994, they sat down in this less than state-of-the-art building in Stanford and started experimenting with a guide which would help find things on the World Wide Web. They called it Yahoo.
Our name before it was, I think, Jerry and Dave's Guide to the Web, and that it's pretty boring, so one day we decided that we wanted something a little more interesting, so we thought of different acronyms, and at one point we came up with yet another something. Looking through the dictionary, looked at the word starting with YA, and Yahoo was there, so that kind of fit the web at the time, and also I think just us in general is kind of rude and uncool, uncouth, or whatever. And so we found the word, liked the word, and then stuck the acronym to it, which is yet another hierarchical officious oracle.
Tell me that again?
Yet another hierarchical officious oracle.
So you were a couple of yahoos?
Yeah.
You were a couple of yahoos, yeah.
In effect, the yahoos were spending their final days at Stanford creating the equivalent of a phone directory for the World Wide Web. And as they added more addresses, the directory just grew and grew and grew. And soon their friends were using it, and then their friends' friends. And pretty soon it seemed everyone in Stanford was using Yahoo. This is how it works.
So this is the top page of Yahoo, and what it is, again, is a directory of internet resources. And the way we've kind of categorized them is into, here at the top level, we have 14 main categories. Things from art, business, all the way down to science, social sciences, society, and culture. And for each one of these 14 categories, we have some subcategories. For example, under arts, we have literature, photography, etc. And what we can do is click on one of these categories and go down further. For example, click on photography and go down to this section, in which, again, we're presented with a number of subcategories again. And now we're broken down to companies, exhibits, magazines, that type of thing. If you look at exhibits, we'll have a long list of photograph exhibits from various places.
Because they have so much information coming onto their system, each new link is identified for the first few days of its existence. The ones they think are particularly cool, they mark with sunglasses.
And so if you look at if we go back to the top page, again, we start with 14 categories. From this, it doesn't look like necessarily there's a lot of information there, but currently there's about 70,000 listings under here. And it's there's over 10,000 different categories. So you can go down really deep in some of these nesting levels.
Yahoo also provides a word search, where you simply type in a word and the search engine runs through the database to show you what they have. We typed in lotteries.
We can search for lotteries, and here one of the first entries we have is a category called lotteries. We can click on that, and out here we have a list of various lotteries. Here, Texas Lottery, Florida Lottery, Australian, and basically,
David showed us what happens if you type in the UK National Lottery.
Okay, so go to the This is actually, once we click on the UK National Lottery, we actually go outside of Yahoo, and now we're actually going to a resource. Yahoo doesn't really have much content of its own, it's just a bunch of pointers to other things. And so now here's something outside of Yahoo, and I guess this shows you what the latest winning numbers are.
As word of Yahoo quickly spread beyond the campus at Stanford, the number of people who started using it to explore various websites became simply staggering.
Well, we started out with we were just using it ourselves. So early on, we might have been getting a couple of people who started using it, so maybe 100 hits a day or something. And it continued to double every month. I think by the end of by the end of 94, we're getting close to 1 million hits a day. So between kind of April 94 and the end of 94, it grew at a fairly steady pace, doubling every month, essentially. And since then, it's grown to over 5 million hits a day now.
Let me run some of those figures by you again. 5 million hits a day. They count a hit every time they're asked to send out chunks of Yahoo information over the net. As of last count, and we're probably already hopelessly out of date, they had over 160,000 different links on file. And with 5 million hits a day, it wasn't long before the advertising community went looking for space on Yahoo's pages. So David and Jerry are no longer working on their PhDs. They're out in the corporate world of the internet.
Good afternoon, Yahoo. Kelly speaking.
Busy spending the $1 million they raised from the venture capitalists to turn Yahoo into a business.
They liked what we were doing, and they thought there was a business behind it, and we together kind of developed a model around it.
And how are you going to make money out of it? Explain that to me.
Well, we thought about charging different parties that are involved in this. One is the users, the other one is people who list with us. And Dave and I both felt pretty strongly about not charging the users, so we want to keep it free. So we had to charge a certain amount of people who want to list information with us. And even then, we didn't want to charge your average lister. We want to keep that as a free service as well. So currently, we're investigating having sponsors paying some amount of money to give visibility on Yahoo, on certain pages of Yahoo. And in return, they get high visibility, and we will get money, and that's how things are going to get funded in the short term.
So Yahoo was suddenly more than just a service. They were a publisher, accepting advertising, and that was important news to Rosalind Resnick.
Print it all. I mean, look at Yahoo. They're selling ads for $20,000 a month. I mean, they're doing better than just about any newspaper magazine out there.
Ms. Resnick is in the internet information business too. But while Yahoo is reaching a wide body of people, she's making money in a small niche market, producing a subscription newsletter aimed at publishing executives who are trying to get a handle on cyberspace. And she has some pretty definite views of what it is that's made her a success.
Every month I ask myself the question, what can publishers do online to make money? And every month I answer it in a different way. Like
most of us, when Rosalind Resnick first came to the internet, she had a hard time figuring it out. But unlike most of us, Ms. Resnick realized that if she was having trouble, then the business executives in her industry would be having trouble too. And that realization opened up a whole new career for Rosalind Resnick.
I guess it reminds me of the story about 5 blind men who approach an elephant. And one man reaches up and feels the elephant's trunk, and the other man feels the elephant's tail, and the other man feels the elephant's leg. And because they're touching different parts of the elephant, they come up with completely different ideas of what this beast is really like. And when I happened upon the internet about 2 years ago, being a journalist, the first thing that occurred to me was, wow, I've got a free printing press, and now I can be my own publisher. And that's the point of departure that I took.
So Rosalind Resnick, who had been making a living as a freelance writer, suddenly became a freelance publisher. Not only did she write her newsletter and distribute it by email, she sold subscriptions over the phone. Part of her mandate has been to track the growth of various businesses on the internet, and in doing that, she has built up her own. The biggest question all business people have about the net is basic and simple and apparently universal. How do you make money out of it? Rosalind Resnick has made her money by explaining just that.
I see the internet as very much a television-like medium in which it's going to be presence, advertising, marketing, presence that these websites and web publishers are selling. That's going to be what people want to buy. So I really think that the major opportunity is not selling products and services on the net, but selling advertising. And I think that the economic model that will prevail is publishers and other website operators giving away information to consumers for free in order to draw as large an audience as possible and getting advertisers to pay the freight. And my feeling is if the audience is willing to come, then the kind of advertisers who now advertise on television, radio, newspapers, magazines, and other mass media will be very happy to add web sponsorships to their list. Hey, it's Rosalind Resnick with Interactive Publishing Alert. How are you? Good, good. Listen, do you have a minute?
She charges $295 a year for her newsletter and is selling a new subscription a day. Rosalind Resnick is thriving in the new corporate playing field of internet commerce.
Where if you subscribe for a full year, you get 2 back issues for free. Gosh, I don't want to be too harsh about this, but it's kind of eat what you kill. You know, I go out there every day, and I mean, when I left the Miami Herald, there was no longer any guarantee that I was going to earn a salary or make a living or have health benefits or anything like that. But I just went out and did it, and I'm very comfortable with the idea that I'll wake up in the morning and I'll make something happen.
On the other side of the country, Yahoo is also making things happen. For what the investors want to look at now is the long term. Is there going to be a life after advertising? Perhaps charging each time somebody clicked on a Yahoo link. But that gets tricky, for how much could you charge people? And even if their customers were prepared to pay, say, a penny a time, how could they collect it? And that's what this man is working on. When he's not getting stuck behind his desk, mathematician Mark Manassee, in his disorderly workspace, is developing a system to collect a penny, or maybe just 1,000th of a penny at a time. At Digital Equipment Corporation's office in San Jose, Mark Manassee isn't always climbing over his desk. He does a lot of other things, some better than others. He may not be the world's best juggler, but then digital didn't hire him to juggle. Mr. Manassee is, in fact, a world-renowned mathematician, perhaps among the top handful in North America, although he's been spending a lot of time recently worrying about pennies. He's been developing a project called Millicent.
What is Millicent? It's an investigation into how cheaply can you buy stuff over the network. What people are mostly doing with cryptographic protocols now for purchases over the net is they're looking at how do you take a credit card number and hand it to somebody in such a way that nobody else can figure out what the credit card number was, or things that are kind of similar to that. And that's fine if what you're trying to buy is $5 or $10 worth of stuff, because that's the range at which you can use a credit card. I'm interested in the question of how do you do something that's even smaller than what you can do with a credit card by a lot, maybe even smaller than what you can do with paper money or coins. For example, suppose that you, in the future, right now when you buy a newspaper, you hand out your 25 or 50 cents or whatever it is. you can only buy a whole newspaper? What if I only want to buy one article? What if I only want to buy one photograph? What if I want to buy my horoscope or a comic strip? That's not worth 50 cents, 25 cents even, probably to me. It's probably worth, you know, a penny, a tenth of a penny, something in that range. And so the idea here is that if we can reduce the grain of transactions, we can unbundle the information space.
Sounds simple enough, but the warning bells are sure to go off because a computer counterfeiting possibility would appear to be limitless. Mr. Manassee, however, has already thought of that.
It's very hard to manufacture a quarter. It costs the government a lot of money to do it. It's not worth counterfeiting. And it's hard for an individual to duplicate. You can't stick it in a Xerox machine and come out with another quarter. But if we're doing things electronically on the network, then we're just dealing with things that are numbers or characters, strings of characters. It's really easy to copy one of those. It's in your computer already, so you just copy it from one line of your computer screen and paste it in another one, and now presto, you've duplicated that 25 cents. Well, that's not a good thing, right? I mean, it's not a good thing for the merchant who's going to accept this if it turns out that it's actually a duplicate of the coin instead of the original. So in most of the schemes that people are looking at, they solve this by saying that we've got to take all the coins straight to the bank and they'll have serial numbers on them, and you check to see if the serial number's already been spent. In Millicent, the idea is instead of doing that, rather than producing coins, we produce what we call scrip, which is a coin that's only accepted at a given vendor. So if I were trying to buy some information from the New York Times, say, I wouldn't hand them a quarter. I'd hand them a quarter that says, this thing is valid at the New York Times only. And then when they went to check the serial number, they'd be able to check it against their list of serial numbers rather than having to ask the bank whether it had already been spent, because they would be able to keep track of that.
When it's up and running, Millicent will be able to collect thousands of pennies all day long for various services on the internet. Millicent. Get it? This could be a major breakthrough in how people pay for tiny bits of information with tiny bits of money. It could be from Yahoo, or just as easily from a textbook, a magazine, or a newspaper.
Right now, at a lot of universities, professors will photocopy large chunks out of textbooks or magazines or whatever to hand to their students. If the rights to read some article in a scholarly journal could be obtained for half a penny a page or something, then the professor could simply provide a reference to that journal, and then it would be easy for all the students to pay their 4 or 5 cents to read the whole article, or their half a penny just to get to the first page with the abstract, if that's all they chose to read.
So Mark Manassee's Millicent might be the way for people like Yahoo to charge us for using their service. And while it might only be a penny or portions of a penny at a time, a hit today from every student in America, or perhaps the world, could make Jerry and David very rich guys, even without their PhDs.
I mean, honestly, we don't really think of it that way because we really didn't do it for the money. I think we did it because it's a really unique opportunity for 2 young guys with no previous record to establish and make something of themselves. And the way we think about making it was really developing this product and the service in which everybody can really use and benefit from. And that's what's going to really make us feel like we've succeeded, and it's really not about the money.
Running Yahoo as a business has changed the lives of Dave and Jerry, just as running her business has changed Rosalind Resnick's life, but in a completely different way.
Should we just
Because I don't want this writing that Carol did either.
Okay, well, let's do this.
The internet has given the Yahoo Corporation a place to go. It has given Rosalind Resnick a place to stay.
Okay, now, Carol, let's show the
It lets her work comfortably at home, have time for the important stuff with her 2 daughters.
But are you always going to sleep with your blanket? Okay.
And with the help of her partner, Ryan Scott, provide the insights into how she thinks the internet will evolve.
As the internet becomes more mass market and can command and can start to draw TV-sized audiences, then the price of ad space on a website is going to start to resemble the price of ad space during halftime at the Super Bowl. So we're talking about some really major potential there.
So Rosalind Resnick believes the commercial future of the net will rely on advertising. But Mark Manassee might change that view. He believes there will be a vast number of people prepared to pay a penny a hit for information retrieval. And it is that business which will explode. as soon as we realize that we don't have to hand over our wallets to strangers.
Your wallet would be sitting on your computer. So to the extent that you had your computer protected from intrusion from the outside, your wallet would be protected. You don't ever hand anyone your wallet. When you're spending money, you don't even hand over everything that's needed in order to spend the money, so that somebody who intercepts the packet on the network wouldn't be able to spend it. What you do is you digitally sign using a fairly lightweight cryptographic algorithm your purchase. You take the purchase, you take the coin that you've got, and you take a secret that is shared by just you and the vendor. And using that secret, you sign the purchase request and the coin so that and now you just send the signature rather than sending the secret over the network.
But how do I trust the vendor?
You have to trust the vendor. That's why it's nice that you're only buying a penny's worth of script from a given vendor at a time, because now if they rip you off, well, hey, it's just a penny. And if they do it more than once, the first time they do it, you'll complain to your broker, and your broker will put a little black mark in their book saying this vendor is maybe not so trustworthy. And if they get a lot of complaints, they'll somehow force the vendor to shape up, and they'll also be responsible for making the customer whole. That is, if I claim as a consumer that the New York Times ripped my penny off and didn't give me anything in return, my broker will be responsible for giving me that penny back, which is better than you get right now when you put a quarter into the newsstand vending machine and you open up the door and then somebody comes along and bumps you and you close the door before you get your quarter and you have to put another, the paper on, you have to put another quarter in and reopen the door.
If Millicent becomes a success, you can bet that among the first people to hear of it will be Ms. Resnick's readers. Her corporate structure is growing. She's just opened a new division in the bedroom down the hall. For the reality of cyberspace is that Rosalind Resnick has been given an arena in which to operate her own business. And now she wants to staff it with people like her.
We're looking for people who know how to learn. I mean, 2 years ago, I barely knew what the internet was. Now I'm publishing, I'm writing, I'm consulting, I'm doing web design. I have these, really great businesses. Well, why is that? Because I can learn.
We started not really thinking about it as a business. We really started thinking about it as something that we both needed, which is to locate information, useful information on the web and on the internet. But we really started trying to do something for ourselves, make something useful. And over time, by word of mouth, and kind of because we put a lot of time and energy into it, it really grew. So at some point, it was apparent to us that it was bigger than we thought it was going to be, and then we had to do something about it, which was to eventually turn it into a business.
And turn it into a business they have. There are other guides to the information available on the World Wide Web, but Yahoo is certainly among the most popular and commercially successful. Jerry Yang puts it down to a mixture of work, luck, and serendipity.
I mean, I like to think we worked really hard to get here, but a lot of it was because we were in the right place in the right time and just happened to be the right things. And that we believed in what we're doing, and we believe in the medium.
Jerry Yang and David Philo at Yahoo and Rosalind Resnick of Interactive Publishing Alert have learned not only a new way of making money, but a whole new internet culture. Whether they will turn that into a fortune or not is still up in the air, but what is definite is that they are already making a living by helping us find our way through the ever-growing maze of information on the internet. They have placed themselves among the map makers of cyberspace, explorers and guides through the galaxies of information which are exploding around us. And so no matter what they end up calling themselves, they are many things, but they are certainly not Yahoos, not in their real lives, and not in life on the internet. If you'd like to try your hand at computer commerce, you might begin here. Sheila's World Wide Web Marketing Resource Guide can help you find information on everything, from internet marketing to advertising law. There's also a marketing discussion site. Here you can share information or simply trade traveling cyber salesman jokes. Here, for example, is a discussion described as a field of dreams or screams. If you want to turn your product's name into a household word, the Internet Advertising Resource Guide could be a help. You can hyperlink to many resources, including one which helps you create a web page by teaching you HTML, the web-friendly hypertext. Now, since the internet regulates itself for the most part, it has its own ways of dealing with advertising misconduct. This is one place you don't want to end up, the blacklist of internet advertisers. The blacklist describes itself as a way to curb inappropriate advertising. For example, sending the email equivalent of junk mail. That's called spamming. Now, here's final proof that internet commerce has arrived. The Girl Scouts have their own cyberspace site for selling cookies. To link up with everything you've seen and much more, visit our website. If you have access to the World Wide Web, here's where you'll find us, http://www.pbs.org. We hope you'll stop by. Until next time, I'm Scott Simon.
In a network of computers, it's not the MIPS and chips and whatnot that's most important. It's what goes on between the people using them that makes them really powerful. A reminder from Sun Microsystems, proud to support this PBS program.
This is PBS.